Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Hall of Fame Bets Thursday Night Football research. This is going to be a fun one. Super excited to jump into things and take a look at the game for the night between the Steelers and the Browns. Should be a really good matchup. As always, guys, make sure to drop in the chat your props, parlays that you are looking at for tonight, and we will take a look at them live on stream. So super excited to jump into this one. I think one thing to point out, I had seen a lot of comments on some of the videos that we had posted about obviously the weather. Excuse me. We had when we had been like first kind of looking at the plays and cooking things up, um, that was a few days out. Obviously it seems like there's going to be a storm today. So I'd be curious to see what you guys think and how you think that will impact the game. Will it then become more of a running match? As the teams are kind of nervous to throw the ball. Just want to shout out everyone in the live chat, Dr. MVP, Aragorn. Shout out to you guys for tuning in. And yeah, drop those plays down below as well. And I'll take a look at them live on stream. But just want to jump into things here. We'll start off with the start off with the leaders feature, right? And of course, I'm going to select tonight's game, and then I'm going to select, guys, this is the new matchup grade filter. Super cool. I absolutely love this one. So you're able to find props that not only have hit in a certain number of games or look at their hit rates, but also to filter for the best possible matchup. So I'm going to go B- to A+, like very strong matchups. And then we're going to start to filter through. And, I think this new filter is just really, it's honestly just a game changer. So let's take a look at some of these receiving props here. One that I really liked was George Pickens for over 50 receiving yards, B+ matchup, minus 172, 8 of 10. What are your guys' thoughts on how the weather could potentially impact this? Like, I'd be really curious to hear what do you guys think in terms of that impact, because I think it could be pretty significant here. However, let's click into his profile and just look through some of the numbers, because again, I think weather could impact, and that's where I think someone like Najee Harris could be interesting, right? But in terms of Pickens, since basically Wilson's come into the fold, he's been phenomenal. 111, 74, 91, 89. Again, Cleveland have a weak pass defense. And then finally, of course, if we look at like recent wide receiver ones, 8 of 10 this season have also all cleared this line too. So at 172, I think as a straight, that could be good. Again, the weather conditions could be possibly impacting. So maybe you would be safer to parlay it at 40. And that looks like that's what Ruben potentially did there. So that's cool, Ruben. Thanks for dropping that. A big one I'm seeing for is Najee Harris. So let's go look at rushing yards, right? In this case here, doesn't look like maybe it's a B matchup. So maybe the matchup's not as good. But this is where context matters. And again, in a game where we think the weather could be bad, maybe we're not as worried about the specific matchup here, right? Of course, it's a D+. But again, guys, this is where I say the matchup grades aren't a thing that, like, by all means, okay, if it's a D+, I'm definitely not doing it. No. Then I need to think about context. I need to look at additional factors, right? If it's a D matchup grade, then a lot of other things need to be going for me. In this case with Harris, I believe they are. And wow, guys, this is crazy. Crazy line bump here. So this was offered, what was 50 offered at before? It was definitely offered at better value than this for 50 plus yards for Najee Harris. I believe I got that for far better value. Maybe even like as low as 190 at one point. But clearly these circumstances have definitely impacted things where they're expecting him to take a lot of carries. I would also say that's probably a pretty good sign. So in terms of, I think some of the things I was looking at with Harris was recent running backs. And if we look at this season, 7 of 10 running backs have in fact cleared this line. However, when we look at 60 yards, quite a smaller sample there. But we look at the last three: Kamara, Dobbins, Henry, all gone over. On the flip side, another way I could look at that, though, one thing that crossed my mind when I was looking at the 60 initially was like, okay, Kamara's having a phenomenal season. Henry's been absolutely fantastic. So are those good people to compare him to? Like, I know Harris is a good running back, but is he on the level this season of a Kamara, of a Henry? Probably not. And these guys kind of just got over the 60-yard mark. So, again, I think weather playing a big factor. Um, and this one could still make this a great bet, to be honest. But would love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. And also, are there any updates on the weather report? Are we getting maybe anyone even in Cleveland that can give us some information here about what the weather's like right now? Because I think that'll have a massive impact on this game. In terms of passing props, interesting. This Jameis Winston one, no, maybe I had him at 200. Yeah, Winston at 200 is interesting because, of course, only hitting 3 of 8. But then we also have to consider he's only really played in these last three, and he's kind of comfortably cleared this line. It's going to be a tough night for the Browns, I think, just because in terms of their rush defense, the Pittsburgh rush defense is really tough. In poor conditions, you want to rush the ball more. It's going to make it really tough on the Browns. So in that case, guys, Steelers money line to me is kind of like, to me, this is a pretty obvious one. I actually went Steelers money line, I think, with Harris 50 plus yards roughly, and I think that got me to above plus 100. Steelers money line's pretty obvious. Like the Steelers have been on an absolute streak. I think they've won 5 straight. The Browns have only won one of their last 7, or lost 7 of their last 8, or something along those lines. So for me, like Steelers money line at minus 195. I know they're on the road. I know they're in Cleveland, but considering the circumstances where it's going to be tough for Winston to throw the ball in the conditions, guys, at minus 195, I think that is an absolute steal. Like just keeping it a buck. Sorry, Browns fans. I know it's been a tough year. But that's just the truth in my opinion. I know a lot of people were looking at like really long historical data. I saw some people commenting, well, it's been X amount of years since within their division that they've won on the road, yada, yada, yada. But again, I think we're looking at a really good Pittsburgh team this year against a really poor Browns team in poor conditions that then favors actually the Steelers. So for me, that kind of all adds up. Shall we do some trends? Should we look into the trends? Let's do it. So we've got Pittsburgh. Let's go. Yeah, we'll go. We want some straights to bet because I think. So here's my strategy, guys, and I would love to hear how you guys go about it. For me, straights are great. They're very important. Building bankroll, right? Got your straights. I'd say maybe for those of you that follow on the Instagram account, I feel like I would say we probably hit on average around 2 out of 3. Some days we go 1 for 3. Some days we go 0 for 3. Some days we go 3 for 3. But on average, between I'd say probably around 60-ish% on those. So then you're starting to build bankroll, which then allows you to then put money into parlays, which can then really multiply your money large, but they're also a larger risk too. And shout out to Dr. MVP. He says the trends tab has gotten so good. I love it. And Dr. MVP, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, the team has been working really hard. Shout out to the developers. They have been crushing it. They've got a great vision for this app. And yeah, if anyone's interested in checking it out, we have a free trial, which I recommend, 7-day free trial. And then also, if you want to get a promo code, check the link in the description or the code in the description and the link to get 50% off your first month. I mean, it's a really great product, and I think you guys get to see it firsthand on the streams and from the content too. So yeah, I saw Dr. MVP says Russell for 175 passing yards looks nice. That's what I think too. I thought that looked really good. I got some flack for that due to the weather conditions, but I think that looks good, and we can look at that in a second too. I usually go for around players that have hit at least 70% of games on the season. Obviously, we want to consider short, more recent stuff, but additionally, it's important to see who has been a consistent performer because consistency is absolute key. So yeah, I am worried with weather about these longest receptions. I think Pickens over 24.5 or over 29.5. Those make me really nervous because, maybe they're throwing the ball, but maybe they're not going to throw it downfield as much. So that makes me quite nervous. Again, let's take a look at Russ here. I think 175 is quite a safe line, even considering the weather. We're not expecting Russ to go crazy and air it out, but I think this feels pretty comfortable. Minus 146, some good value here. Again, we're looking at quarterbacks who have cleared this line, pretty much all of them, and especially recently been crushing it. Even the likes of, Dak Prescott and a few others have cleared this line. Daniel Jones cleared this line. Again, I know the weather is a big factor, but I would say at 175, I think this is a decent quality look here. I see some interest into let's see here, into Pat. So let's take a look here, Dr. MVP. and this should be an interesting one. So we want to see 2 receptions here. He's actually hitting 100% of games, so this is a very good pull right here. At minus 225 could be some nice parlay material. I'm really liking it in terms of, excuse me, receiving yards to tight ends. Pittsburgh roughly set middle of the pack. But I'm really liking this. He did go under in both head-to-head games last season, but again, I think we have a large enough data set. We're looking back to last season, not as relevant since teams changed a lot. I think, the Browns were quite a bit better last year. So again, and we want to look at tight ends. How have other tight ends done? We see in the case of tight ends, it's been kind of roughly 50-50 this season. It looks like roughly, what, 2, 4, 5. So roughly 5 out of 9, 5 out of 9 tight ends have cleared this mark. I would say in terms of the caliber of tight ends that have cleared, the likes of Ferguson, Bowers, Ertz, Andrews, like the big names have all kind of cleared this line, and I think Pat kind of fits that type of grouping in terms of his quality. So again, weather could play a role, but I think if you want to look at something that's passing but a little bit safer, this is a great shout. So shout out to Dr. MVP. Okay, Curry, Aragorn, let's take a look into this. So he's got Tillman for 40-plus receiving yards. So we've got 40-plus receiving yards for Tillman. Looks like this has shot up in the last 4 games. One thing that's really going to interest me, and this is how I'm looking at it for a lot of the players for tonight when it comes to Cleveland, is looking at their usage share in recent games. I think that's going to tell a really big picture here. So in the case of Tillman, he's averaging around 5.6 targets. That does make me a little nervous, and here's why. Wait, let's look at the last 5. Sorry. Actually, no. In the last 5, he's averaging 8 targets, second most. So actually, that makes me a lot more confident in this, because clearly, with Winston taking the lead, he's become one of their largest targets in these games. So, in that case, I think him at 40 could be a good shout. What were the odds we were getting for that again? Minus 122. I think that's really solid. I'm curious. Not every sportsbook has it, but at 30, see, yeah, that's quite safe. So I think at 40 for minus 122, that looks very solid there. So nice shout there, Curry. What else do we want to look into? Lots of Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston today on the trends because, of course, that makes sense considering these guys have only played 3 or 4 games. Carries could be interesting to look at for Harris. Could be an interesting one. Nick Chubb is an interesting player too. If the ball's going to be run more, could we look at something for him? And this may not be exactly what you think in terms of, at 40, like he's only hitting. Sorry. In 40, oh wow, the line has shifted a lot. But at 40, he's only hitting 2 of 4, 2 of 4. But he was just 1 yard off in that game. So, you would really probably, I know that doesn't officially count, but very close to 3 of 4. That said, the Pittsburgh rush defense is very strong. So we can look at recent running backs to clear this line, right? Derrick Henry, again, only 65 yards. Eckler with 44, but then Gray, Breece Hall, and others going under. So maybe again a bit risky still, but I like it. Oh, another one for Harris we could look at would be total yards. I think that could be a good shout. And I know what's very popular among most bettors, and I get it, is anytime touchdown. So thought we could at least take a look here. Excuse me. These could be a bit more long shot. So what was the one I saw that was interesting? Was it Chubb for anytime TD? Let's see. Yeah, I'm curious. Do you guys like anyone for anytime TD? I feel like there's not really like a clear pick for tonight in terms of anytime TD. I think probably Harris would be a relatively safe bet. Oh, this is one I liked. If you can find odds for it, maybe like a Justin Fields anytime TD. I think they want to keep it involved with packages and stuff. So maybe it's like, again, this is a little less data driven. I'm not going to lie. But we do see he's had a few games where he's had a few anytime touchdowns. But maybe they bring him in for a sequence in the red zone, um, and do something there. That could be of interest to me. And we could even see like if we go to usage share again. This is more of like this would be something manage your unit size on, um, not necessarily like super, um, normal I guess you would say or super regular. But like if we look at red zone carries in the last 5 games, Harris averaging 4.4, Fields at 3.0. So in the red zone, like Fields had been getting a lot of looks. So even longer, 2.3. So again, I think that's like Michael says, good idea, putting the house on it. But I think that could be like a good one, couple bucks, throw it on there. Maybe you get a decent payout from that, is what I would say. Again, everyone has different bankroll size and unit size. So just manage that, and you guys know what to do. I mean, in terms of managing that stuff too. So yeah, that's another shot I had for tonight as well. Want to open it up to you guys though too, and see if there's any others that could be interesting, or any other stuff that you had noticed looking through the data, or for those of you that don't use Hall of Fame bets and had an idea that you wanted to see on the platform, let me know as well too. So what's up, Jackie? No, we were just kind of going through some different options for tonight. I think the situations in terms of the weather and factors like that probably lend the game to be a bit more of a running game, but not again. I think it's still more difficult to read. So in general, like for myself betting, I am probably betting a little safer, a little less smaller units on tonight's game, just because I feel like personally there's greater risk. Again, I'm not going to tell anyone else how to bet. That's a decision you have to make for yourself, but that's personally how I'm approaching the game a little bit more too. Um, so yeah, and then there's some fun games coming this weekend too, so be on the lookout for that stuff. Let's take a look at a few. We can look for a few more things here. Something that could be interesting, maybe completions or perhaps pass attempts. We could see pass attempts being down potentially due to the weather. So if you want to look under, maybe let's look at like Winston pass attempts. Wow, so he's been. I mean, they've really been throwing the ball with Jameis Winston. Like, wow. Um, Jeez, like 40 plus pass attempts. I mean, he's been throwing the ball well. He's like one of these really strong backup QBs. And that's why I think at 200 passing yards, like he's not mobile. The Steelers have a really good rushing defense, so they're gonna have to make something happen. And at that point, that's why I kind of like him for 200 yards at minus 166. And again, the Steelers' pass defense is pretty freaking average in my opinion. So that's kind of that's my 2 cents on that um, situation there. Um, would you guys? I know we've been doing NFL. Would you guys? I know it's just one game. Would we want to at all look into some of the NBA games for tonight? That could be interesting. An interesting pivot. We can also look at the likes of Tillman, or sorry, not we've already looked at Tillman, but like Warren and others too. Let me know your picks, your plays down below in the chat, and I can look at those as well. But if you guys feel pretty good for NFL, I'd be happy to spend 10, 15 minutes on NBA too. If people are betting that, maybe that could be a better option for tonight too with the weather. So I see Monique says NBA. If we get a couple more, oh Jay, let's look at more because this is one I've been interested in. And then Monique, we can still absolutely pivot to some NBA stuff too. And actually, we've been pretty hot on NBA recently, so um, I would like to look through it and show you guys something I've cooked up for tonight on there. But yeah, let's look at more real quick because this is someone I bet on. What is like what is in terms of Moore's injury status? Has there been any updates there, Jay? Because that was one that I gotten some comments about. People are saying, he could be hurt, he could miss the game, like that could be a problem. But I would love to get your if you have any 2 cents on that, any idea, that would be super helpful. Um, but yeah, let's take a look and see here what we're working with. So for Moore. I liked him at 25, I think it was. It shifted a little bit the line. When I got the line, I got it for I think minus one, definitely better value, like minus 180 maybe. And guys, I think the thing I like about Moore, he's hitting for the last five. Again, this coincides with Winston, and then again, also at 25 yards. I think 25 is a great margin. And we look at his targets 8, 9, 12, 7. So since Winston's taken over again, he's another player. If we go to the usage share, which guys, such a great tool. You have to like if you're on Hall of Fame bets, which everyone I highly recommend. Check the link in the description and use the promo code to get some money off, 50% off. But I mean, in terms of target share, right, with Moore at 5.9 targets, like for 25 if we go to the last five, sorry, 7.4 targets in the last five at 25 yards. I mean, for me, that's a pretty good. Again, lock is a word that's used a lot, and there's no such thing as a true lock, but I think that's a really good look that. Um, so yeah, I think that's what I would like for him. So yeah, I think that's a good point to move into. Let's look at some NBA. Let's look at some NBA now. There's not a ton of NBA games tonight either. Like there's not a ton. We have the Pistons, the Timberwolves, the Jazz, and the Magic. So not a ton of stuff, but I still think some good stuff to look into as well. And I'll show you guys something I've cooked up for tonight. So on Instagram, and in TikTok and in Twitter as well. We've been running a ladder challenge. We're currently on day 3. Cashed the first 2 days, which has been pretty sweet. Um, so yeah, I'll show you guys what we're running for tonight, and then we can jump into a few other things. But um, so the first one is where is this? Oops, I want assists. So it's Cade Cunningham for 8 assists, and then Cade Cunningham for 6 rebounds. And let's take a look here and see what the parlay optimizer is saying. So this is hitting 9 of 10 games, really strong, 9 of the last 10. Before this, it had been, not that many games before this, but he's on a roll right now. So I'm kind of riding that hot streak. Additionally, what I will say is this has performed really well in the head-to-head games against Charlotte. The one in particular I want to highlight, right, is the one this season when they played on November 7th. He had 10 assists and 10 rebounds. So, again, not only has this performed well recently, but he's already done this against Charlotte this season. We got this for minus 102, decent value. So, again, for the ladder challenge, for anyone unfamiliar, the goal of the ladder challenge is to, of course, do bets around the plus 100 range. You can do 10 straight days. That would, and you put those winnings in each day. That would turn $10 to, of course, $10 to $10,000. And right now, we're on day 3, so we went 10 to 20, and then now 20 to 40. So now we're trying to go 40 to 80 tonight. So if anyone else wants to add a little bit to it, this is another leg for anyone that's just looking for maybe a little bit more value, or just wants to kind of to mess around, and look to add some more. Like this isn't a ladder. This isn't ladder challenge. This is just more like, oh, okay, adding to the play now. I really liked Brandon Miller for 2 threes as well. I think this brings it up to like plus 147, at least when I saw it this morning, which, again, when I'm looking at lines, it's usually really early in the morning, so a lot of this stuff will change. Sometimes there's better value in the morning, but you also leave yourself open to injury changes and stuff like that. For example, the latter play last night included Darius Garland, who then was announced out later in the afternoon. So, there's the benefits, the pros and the cons of when you research. But this play has hit in 80% of the last 10 games. Miller's been on absolute fire. Another thing to add with Cunningham real quick too, and this is why I like this, was Charlotte allowed lots of rebounds and assists to opposing point guards. So for me, that feels like a no-brainer. And then with Miller, the extra insight, other than him just performing well recently, is, guys, look at this. Look at his field goal, 3-point attempts. In the last 10 games, he's averaging 10.2 3-point attempts. He shoots at a decent clip. With that volume, I feel really comfortable about him hitting 2. And again, I guess in this case here, it has him listed as a small forward. Technically a shooting guard, but they allow a decent number of threes. So it's not like they have a really, really strong 3-point defense, the Pistons. So in that case there, just another reason why I think Miller is great. So I love this play. I think it's fantastic. Maybe a little bit risky with Cade at that high on number of assists, but he's been hitting it recently. So that is why we are running with it. I see Dr. MVP says Anthony Edwards over 20.5 points. Dr. MVP, one question I have though with this one, I assume it's parlay material because at 20.5, you're surely not getting. I'm curious to see what value you found here. I'm very curious to see. Could this be better than like a minus 400? Because if it is, that could be pretty good. We have over. Wow, what? How have you gone? How have you gone about and gotten this? How have you gone about and Dr. MVP? Dr. MVP, how have you found this? This is quite sneaky, this. He's got Anthony Edwards over 20.5 points for minus 320. And for those of you who are like, oh, minus 320, like that's not much. But if you parlay that with a few other nice things, like maybe some of those Cade picks or those Miller picks, like you could then find something pretty sweet. So great find this, hitting 100% at minus 320. This is great value. Faces Toronto. My only concern here, Dr. MVP, could be a blowout. That is my only concern because I'm pretty sure I'd have to double check. We can look right here. Toronto are a bad team this season, but they are at home. So that would be my only concern, but I like it. And that's the one thing with NBA guys, you got to always be thinking about blowouts because you never know. So but yeah, I like it. I like it. I see someone's asking about Cade at 6.5 rebounds. You know, is it possible? Yes. I like to play it a little bit safer here at 6 because if we look at even the last 3 games, for example, 2 of them he's only hit 6, so that's why I get a little nervous there personally. But I hope that makes sense there. It's possible. I think at 6 seems to be kind of like a good upper limit for him, in my opinion. Again, at minus 160, I think that's pretty solid value for Cade there. So yeah, I hope that helps. Um, yeah. So, we'll do 5 more minutes of NBA guys, and then we'll probably call it for the night. But I appreciate everyone tuning in. If you're enjoying the stream, make sure to drop a like. And if anyone's new here, first of all, say what's up in the chat. It'd be great to meet some of the new people. We have some OGs like Dr. MVP and others in here. But if anyone's new, feel free to drop a message, say what's up. And then also, I would recommend if you think the tools look cool, check them out. We have a link in the description where you can access a free trial for 7 days, and as well as a promo code if you want to sign up to get 50% off your first month. So, I see some new people dropping in. Monique, Keyshawn, welcome. Appreciate you guys tuning in. And yeah, I hope you're enjoying the stream. And we do these roughly weekly, and then as well, posting content on socials as well too. But shout out to you guys for tuning in. And let's see here. Sixto says, "What's up? What's up? How are we doing, my friend?" I see someone saying Anthony Edwards for 3 threes. This is one Edwards has had a hot hand to start the season. This is one though I've been pretty cautious of, just because Edwards isn't known for being a great 3-point shooter, but he's shooting like if we go back to last season, he was rarely hitting 3 threes. But then this year, he's absolutely turned it on. I mean, he's hitting almost every game. Let's take a look at this. Is maybe where honestly, if I was advising him, like I would probably say, like, yo, maybe cut back on the threes. But this is just the way the game's going. So, he's averaging 11 3-point attempts per game. Guys, at that clip, a player of his caliber really should be hitting about 3 of them. So, I think that's fair. Let's go last 10 though. Yeah, still 10.5. So again, if he's shooting 30%, 3 sounds really good. So I like it. Let's take a look at the 3-point defense he's facing. Overall, it looks like Toronto's is solid. I think again, one thing I would say, sorry, one thing I would say with someone like Ant or the NBA just in general, with star players, these matchup grades, I would say take them with a little bit more of a pinch of salt. That's what I would say. I think, are they valuable? Absolutely. Do they give us a good understanding? Yes. But, however, what I would say is, when it comes to star players, they kind of do what they're going to do regardless of the matchup. And sometimes, too, a favorable matchup can be more likely for a blowout, too. So that's just something to keep in mind. That wouldn't, like, that's what I'm saying here in terms of, okay, they allowed the 7th fewest threes, right? But then Anthony Edwards is going to get his shots up regardless, right? That's a little bit more important for role players, and then um, it's it's something we should still consider. But however, um, it's something we should still consider, but it's still, valuable. I see DDD says, how do you cancel the free trial so I don't get charged when it ends? Yes. Feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram, Twitter, Discord in the DMs, but also you can reach out to our support email that's listed on your account page, and it's support@hoffbets.com. But that is listed on the account page. So go to the app, go to the account page, and you should be able to reach out to us there or manage your subscription from there within the app. Um, what is up, Marco? We are looking at a little bit NBA. We've done some NFL, so we've probably got one more NBA thing we're gonna look at, and then we'll call it a night there. But I appreciate everyone tuning in. Um, let's see if there's anything else we'd want to do for tonight. What do we think about, like, I'm just thinking of something fun, maybe like a little Dalton Connect action. What are we thinking about him? He went off the other night. He's been playing more with Hachimura out. Maybe this could be like, I don't know, connect for, I'd like 12 because that's like what, four threes for him roughly. Threes is a good shout, Keyshawn. Let's take a look at his threes. Two threes could be good. Excuse me, good parlay material. Though he is facing a really good 3-point defense in Orlando, so that is something to note. I know again he's a specialist, but this is again where he's not a star. So again, the looks that they're getting are a little bit more dependent on their teammates. So that's where I would be a little bit more cautious. But yeah, perhaps him for threes or points could be interesting because I know what he's playing. Played 38 minutes, 37 minutes, 26, 31 compared, to early in the season where he had 19, 8, 26. So definitely getting more consistent minutes. We'd also want to check that roster page and see, okay, what's the injury status? Is Hachimura? You'd want to check guys on X or other places. Is Hachimura planning to play tonight as well? So, yeah. Anyways, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I want to thank you all for tuning in for our NFL and then eventually NBA research. Like I said, if you're interested in checking out Hall of Fame bets, check the link in the description and use the promo code to get 50% off your first month. And yeah, I hope you guys best of luck with all of your bets. And I hope you have a great evening. And yeah, take it easy, y'all. Peace. Thank you for tuning in.